if you got 'em. Time to torch down the house, y'all. Welcome to At Cannabis TV. I hope you guys all are staying well and staying sane with everything that's going on in the pandemic. And I wish you all the best. Let's get on with the news, shall we? So, because of this pandemic, there's been a lot of news popping up that hasn't really gained any traction, that has been interesting to me. And with my experience and everything, I felt as though this information might be of value to you as I'm trying to answer some questions, figure things out. I have a guest joining tomorrow, Bob Cocken. He's been part of the industry for many years. He was one of the original educators. And he will be interviewing with me tomorrow. And then next week, I'll be interviewing Dean Matt. He published a book called Gone to Pot. We will dig into a lot of the companies that have been around and these large transactions. He's a CFO with a massive resume. That book, Gone to Pot, great content. Great content. Everybody that wants to get involved in the cannabis industry should read that book. All right, on to, let's say, this month's news, because I'm going to go back a little bit on some things that haven't really been covered, I believe, enough. The deal. I know a lot of you heard about this deal a year ago. There was a lot of media attention drawn to it. It was Acreage Holdings. And Acreage Holdings was buying Deep Roots in Nevada. And a year ago, I have dated right here and a lot of other media content, acquisitions that they were acquiring Deep Roots, and that deal was on the table a year ago. And now, I think it was 3 days ago, a publishing came out that they were going back on that deal, and that deal's actually not happening. So Acreage Holdings is not actually buying Deep Roots. What I'm trying to figure out as a, small investor, I use my TD app. I, put little extra here and there, some in savings and, some in some stocks. And I didn't know until recently that I guess you can buy a bunch of media and give a bunch of information, and then a year later, the deal might not go through. So I guess it's a thing that happens. Now I know going forward that it's even more important to source your information not from the internet, not from publishings and blogs, but actually from study and experience, or talking to people with experience that can read into these things. Another company, Aurora Cannabis. So Aurora Cannabis will roll up its shares in a reverse stock split. Here's what you need to know. What do I need to know? Like, a reverse stock split to do what? I mean, haven't some of these businesses already done so much damage and lost so much money that how are they even allowed to do something like this? I don't know. If somebody out there has an answer to this, I know you can do it and all of that, but I mean, is there a limit? This stock has, bankrupted a lot of people. It's taken a lot of money. So, there you go on that one. Mass Roots. This has been a company that I have advised against for 4 years. I remember being at a conference and having a smoke and a conversation leaving the Javits Center in New York, and he was in cannabis media, and we were discussing how Mass Roots was collecting all this investment money. Meanwhile, they had generated about $20,000 in revenue in a year, but they were valuing themselves at, and collecting all this money, So Mass Roots sued for manipulation. Mass Roots took out, as I mentioned, going back to the acreage Deep Roots deal that was announced a year ago, but apparently is not happening now, a year later. So how much media can a company buy to collect investment money and make promises that aren't kept? That's my question. Because this, if this is part of the, stock market, it's a gamble, right? We live in a gambling world. Investing in stocks, it's a gamble. You don't know what's going to happen, which is fine. But if you're not given the actual factual information, how can you make an educated decision on how and where you want to invest your money? Mass Roots is being sued by the SEC for founder of Dutch Capital and early investor into Mass Roots, Doug Langton, is being sued by the Securities Exchange Commission. Yeah, so the SEC is suing going back, so it's Dutch Capital, Mass Roots is being sued. Two other companies controlled by Leighton, Base Point Capital and Assure Capital. So whatever those tickers are, this guy seems to have a couple capitals and is being sued for manipulation. So we don't want to play in those boxes, right? Cheers, everyone. Oh, by the way, Yogi Tea, I'm a huge supporter of. This stuff's amazing. I've stayed away from the coffee throughout this pandemic. I think it's very wise, but we need our little caffeine, our little, So in the morning, I've been having the positivity tea. I call it positivity, but the positivity tea, it's great. It look at me, see, positive. So cheers. Tea's been great during this pandemic. Okay, moving on. A company now called Canna out of Kentucky. Let me get a little personal here for a moment with Canna. So, I had a call about, maybe 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And I spoke with a gentleman, his name leaves me, and he was trying to be a broker with CBD and blah, blah, blah. I went through that rabbit hole, and that's why I know what I know. But anyway, I spoke with a gentleman, and he was starting a company for hemp processing and extraction and doing a product line. Well, he wasn't doing a product line when I spoke to him, and then they turned into a product line. And I had quite a long conversation, longer than I should have. And this company was born. And I remember actually he called me again for some more information. People like to source information for free, and it's not nice. It's not nice. You can't do it anymore. Now I just give you the news for free. So Canna. Now Canna, they just tried to file for bankruptcy. I'm not sure if that bankruptcy is actually getting the thumbs up or thumbs down. The CW bankruptcy already got a thumbs down, I believe, and that kind of set precedence, or they're still maneuvering that. I don't know. I'll dig into more of that news. But Canna filed for bankruptcy, which, if they're a hemp company and they're based to be a hemp company, and that's what they've been, and hemp's legal, and they've been keeping up on everything, then they should be able to. And this also goes into a company called MaryMed. So MaryMed is the seed distributor to Canna. And so now that seed producer is going to end up, the seed deal that they were supposed to do falls apart. So they promised to do a deal. They're filing a bankruptcy. That deal will not be done. So now you have Canna and MaryMed that are getting into a situation. So those companies might not be a good idea. Weed maps. Oh, weed maps. I knew this was going to happen to you guys. I've known for years, man. For you guys to spend all those years accepting funds. So weed maps, it was published that they had to turn over whatever they had to turn over to the federal government, which I hypothesize and I theorize. My personal little lawyer in my head is going, yeah, that's evidence on people that weren't doing the right things, and that's just a whole spider web of stuff. And, good luck with the whole collecting money off that all those years. I don't know what to say about this. It didn't surprise me. It was not a surprise to me. So I don't know what Weed Maps is doing and street cred and all that. Don't forget about the street cred. Planet 13. Planet 13 is another one that I'm personally invested in. I threw some change in there, back when it was still low. Well, because I knew it was a sustainable company. I knew because I had toured it, seen it, watched it build, the whole thing, right? Helped save them some money in the regulation rooms. Anyway, I was actually at a meeting when the owner said they were opening up a Santa Ana location, and because it was going to be close to Disney, and even though they were retail, because we all know retail apocalypse, the only thing safe during retail apocalypse is dispensaries, right? Well, once we can buy all that online, we'll see how that market goes. But because they were positioned to be entertaining and bring, the tourism aspect to things, they looked like they were going to expand. That was the expansion. Well, in the news just the last couple of days, that expansion is not going forward. Planet 13, a leading vertical integrated Nevada cannabis company, announced the termination of its definitive agreement to acquire a cannabis sales license and license and lease for a dispensary in Santa Ana, California. The acquisition from Newtonia Principles. The acquisition was terminated due to unmet conditions in the definitive agreement. So that's not happening. And then, my question goes into, and anybody that can answer this or has experience in this, please comment, DM me. I need to learn. This is what I'm here for. I like to learn. I like to educate. I like to learn. It's information. We got to gather it and share it as much as we can in order to make our own bets, make our own gambles. I thought this was actually really interesting, and I'm actually shocked that it hasn't been regurgitated on any of the mainstream cannabis. Michigan abruptly cuts off caregiver-grown cannabis in state's recreational market. So you can no longer grow your own in Michigan. I think, here's my take on that though, water. And especially with everything going on, you guys don't have the water to just let it flow freely like that. Not to mention the lack of regulation in regards to the disposal of that water. And then you have people that don't know how to grow, let alone know how to grow organically, free of pesticides and contaminants. They're still walking in stores buying something just because there's a label on front of it that says organic. Guess what? There's a lot of things in those organic nutrients that won't pass a test. So, Michigan. Michigan abruptly cuts off caregiver-grown cannabis in the state's recreational market. So now you can't, it's caregiver grown, but still you can't. Hold on. I know why they're doing this. Right now they're shutting this down because through the caregiver, if it's anything like California, through the caregiver aspect. So this is what people did 10 years ago. So you signed up as a caregiver, and then the caregiver actually allowed you to grow for a collective of people. So you could grow for 5, 10, 10, whatever it was in whatever state you were in, depending on regulation. So you had a lot of pot dealers that were growing 100 plants because they were a caregiver for, 10 people, 5 people, whatever that was. And that's how you had these massive grows under one umbrella, which became a business, a for-profit entity. So that's the industry cutting off the bigger grows. But that sucks for the patients, obviously, because they can't get the medicine that they need. So now I'm going to go into this little segment where I share with you guys a couple publicly traded companies that are under SEC charges or investigation. The Securities Exchange Commission is the people that police the stock market, for those of you that don't know that information, so the SEC. SEC investigation, MediGreen Holdings. MediGreen Holdings is under investigation for what, for who? I don't know. If you're invested into them, you might want to look into it. Another SEC investigation is Applied Biosciences. So appliedbiocorp.com, Applied Biosciences, vertically integrated, blah, 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 therapeutics, blah, 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 yeah, they're another just untested, CBD product out there or whatnot, but they obviously are doing something sketchy with the SEC investigation as well. So that's Applied Biosciences. Now, here, my favorite. This is one that I just need to keep bringing up because I can't believe the years that have gone by. And, so 2016, hemp Inc.'s been charged. They've been investigated. Their stock is just, it's ridiculous. They don't even have any, I don't even know what they sell to this day. It's been like 5 years. It's like 7 years they've been collecting money. I don't even know. I mean, I think they finally made some tinctures or something. It's beyond me. SEC charges Cannavest. So SEC charges hemp oil company and CEO with fraud. So Cannavest, the Securities Exchange Commission filed fraud charges against, Las Vegas company, hemp oil company, inflating the company's assets. So CEO Michael Mona Jr. and is filed in Nevada court in Cannavest. So Cannavest is doing some naughty stuff. Now this is the other part of my little segment where, this was kind of random, of course, but then I kind of had to do this. So, I'm just Googling away companies that I've been hearing about, knowing about for, I guess almost a decade at this point. And there was one that I haven't really heard about for a while, and they're definitely brand heavy with the brand recognition. But, I never really, I know they were carried at stores, but I mean, I never really saw them out there as much with the products. Anyway, I'm confused about this one too. Somebody's going to have to help me out with this one. So I'm looking at a snapshot of my TD app, and it's a company called Dixie Elixir. Now, Dixie Elixir has been around a really long time. They're trading at $0. $0 on March 9th. Now, I know that they were merging with somebody, so maybe at that point their ticker changed. I could be wrong, but I couldn't find it. And I found it 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, they're trading on 4 different markets. I mean, how are you at zero and you're trading on 4 different markets? Like, I get it, you're supposed to be global, but if your product can't ship globally, you're not global. Your brand can cross state line, but your formula, your ingredients, I guess, can, but can't. I don't know. Your ingredients can, but your sales, I feel like it's so preliminary for a lot of this in this industry. And Dean Matt, that wrote the book Gone to Pot, next week he will be interviewing with me, and we will be discussing a lot of that. A little tip when you're looking at these companies, something that I've learned that I've, marginability, that's huge. If you have a company, if you look into some of these companies that I mentioned, I know one in particular has a 16% margin. So that means they make 16% profit off what they sell. And if you've got 5 owners, let's say 3 owners, that's still, that's not much if your distribution points within one state, or you only have 1 distribution point or 2. So just remember that margins, you want to look at the marginability of these companies. 50% is usually what you want. My product line was 80. It was nice. Well, and then I had to slash my prices, and then I just became my own retailer, and then, so we're getting it. I just want to reiterate again, wrapping up and in closing, that you really have to keep your eye on your investments, on your money. You need to know who and what you're spending your money on, and in general. I really hope that with the coronavirus pandemic that's happening right now, that one big takeaway is the cleanse that it hopefully has created with the environment being so calm lately, and people just genuinely being kinder to one another. The same thing has to happen, and is happening, I believe, in the cannabis industry. There's a cleanse that needs to occur, and fact checking is extremely important going forward. Many mainstream media companies are accepting, they'll put out a blog or a press release or a story or do an interview with a photo, and you think they're not doing the interview for free. It costs money to get write-ups about you in publications. They're for-profit businesses. So just make sure that when you're reading blogs and other people's information, you see where that source came from, and make sure that sourcing is some kind of investigator, does some kind of investigation. Otherwise, it's just entertainment and fun, which is great, but don't bet the horse on it or the farm. Hope you guys have enjoyed my little first episode of the Cannabis Newscast, and I will be doing this tomorrow. So tomorrow I will have Bob Cocken on, I think about noon, 12:30 maybe, noon. And next week, Dean Matt with the book Gone to Pot. Have a great day, everyone. Cheers.